The NBA has an unofficial player hierarchy with LeBron James at the top, and he understands it. Dillon Brooks, the chosen one for the self-crowned celebration, wants to be treated differently, but he has never respected that. Just the other night, the Lakers were up 2. Brooks hits a big go-ahead 3 late, but watch LeBron clearly foul. Brooks received a call for shooters, which is a common occurrence unless it is LeBron James. So Brooks bodies. Bron is ejected. However, 10 seconds later, LeBron is called for a foul on his 3-point attempt. Brooks is correct about the star treatment, but he denies that LeBron prefers individuals who grovel down to him. I don't bow down, which is great, but it was also this attitude that made Brooks one of the most disliked players in the NBA. When he was traded from the Grizzlies, many assumed his career would take a downturn, but instead, his former team struggled while Brooks proved his value across 3 different teams. This season, he's even averaging more points than LeBron James, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson, players who've been openly skeptical of his talent. So how did the NBA's most loathed player prove everyone wrong? Brooks was anything but a scrub in high school. He was a star at a Canadian private school and then finished at the elite Findlay Prep near Las Vegas. Brooks did well in college, with the exception of the most obvious flop of all time. However, he was not regarded as a top NBA prospect when drafted in the 2nd round in 2017. However, in his rookie debut off the bench, Dillon scored 19 points in only 29 minutes, which is astonishing for any rookie, let alone a 2nd round pick. However, this was before the fine in the West. Grizz. Memphis was still growing, so after they drafted Ja Morant and Triple J, Brooks took on a new role. Dillon is the villain. This guy loves to be loathed. It's kind of strange. I attended a Rockets season ticket holder event last year. Except for Dillon Brooks, all of the players were walking around talking to each other. He was standing alone in the corner wearing sunglasses. Really, I got the impression he doesn't want to be friends with anyone, particularly NBA stars. So his first aim was LeBron James. Brooks refused to respect Bron from the start, which irritated him. It got so severe that Shannon Sharpe tried to get Brooks to stop bothering Bron. This culminated into the entire Memphis team rushing the court. But later that year, Brooks made a contentious statement. I wouldn't mind facing LeBron in a 7-game series. I mean, the legacy is present. However, this is the first time back in the playoffs. Knock him out in the first round. Really impressive confidence. However, in round 1, LeBron won by 16 points. Ouch. Then the Grizzlies rallied back in game 2, and Brooks responded, "I don't care. He's ancient. I poke bears. I won't respect someone until he gives me 40, which is the worst thing to say about LeBron James. So after the Lakers won the series, LeBron basically posted a little sonnet on Twitter about how he defeated Dillon Brooks and put him in his place, which is correct, but it didn't stop Brooks from ratcheting up the troll factor for his next victim. Dude mentioned the most important thing you should not say about Draymond Green. Like, if there's one spot you shouldn't go with Draymond, he went right there. I said I didn't like Draymond. He speaks a lot, gets away with a lot too. His game is compatible with Golden State, but you know what? If you place him somewhere else, you won't know who Draymond is. Wow. All those Warriors are concerned about Steph taking all the credit. So Dillon simply twisted the knife. Draymond reacted angrily.
If you ever wondered why the Memphis Grizzlies is not ready to compete for a championship, look no further than this idiot right here. They're actually depending on this guy to help them win a championship. And he says his game is cool. Quite frankly, that just shows how little you know about basketball. You running around talking about a dynasty? The dynasty starts after you.
The next day, the two faced off in one of the most awkward conversations you'll ever witness on the court. Weird. However, this was the same target that the Brooks Grizzlies faced during the playoffs and lost. So how effective is Dillon's troll act anyway? On the court, he was not much better, having the poorest 3-point shooting on the team while averaging 6 trays per game. People in Memphis predicted the end for Dillon Brooks after he was traded to Houston. So why didn't this guy burn out? Because the next stop was Houston. Made no sense. On paper, this was not a contender. There is no veterans locker room. They were last in the West when he arrived. However, IMO, Doko was attempting to create a culture from scratch. He didn't need to be silent for this. He needed an edge. And most importantly, Dillon Brooks did not get there alone. Another veteran was Fred VanVleet, a champion and leader who wouldn't let him get too far. And what Fred stated about Dillon is unexpected.
I did not with him at all. I never liked the antics and all the goofy he do in the game. When he was in Memphis, I hated it. And he came here, it was perfect because it was like we needed him to go outside the box a little bit, but then it was my job to kind of reel him back in. Like, all right, come on, man, let's hoop, because you actually a good basketball player.
Yeah.
I don't think there was nobody to balance it out in Memphis. But when you're on his team, there's 4 or 5 nights out the year where you need that, because you just get in the flow of the game and you're tired and you need a little spark or a little juice. He'll do some freak shit in the middle of the game and change the whole game, and now the whole opposing team waiting on him in the locker room after the game.
And now, the entire opposing team is waiting for him in the locker room after the game. So Dillon was no longer perceived as a problem, but rather as a tool for winning. A guy who would get right into the opponent's brain and establish the tone. So Houston jumped from 10th to 2nd place last year. Brooks was a significant part of it, but the question remained. Was this simply the ideal scenario, or had Dillon Brooks genuinely changed? Because what came next was nothing like the Rockets. Brooks was a bit of a throw-in in the Phoenix transaction. Jalen Green was the major asset in the acquisition of Kevin Durant. Despite all forecasts that the Suns would be a disaster, they are a surprising 7th seed with a nearly top 10 offense and defense. But Jalen Green had nothing to do with it. He has been injured all year, so the sun did shine on Devin Booker, Colin Gillespie, and Mark Williams. However, Dillon Brooks provided the most unexpected lift, scoring 22 points on 45% shooting. He's taking advantage of the double teams Booker receives and producing. However, when Brooks is not on the court, Dillon is the best option and is entertaining to watch. So somehow, they traded one of the NBA's finest players, and KD, the player they traded for, had not played, but the Suns have become better. According to Hater, this makes little sense unless Dillon Brooks is a far better player than him, and not some exceptional all-star. That is not what I am saying. However, in this friendly era of the NBA, players like Dillon are unusual. From Memphis to Houston and Phoenix, when he arrives, things become awkward for both the opponent and the referees, which is where they went wrong. He's not a distraction, but rather a locker room culture person that helps the team win games. But one team that desperately needs a trade is the Dallas Mavericks. Cooper Flagg is figuring things out. The rookies looked amazing, so they have to exchange AD now. Rumors say they want to, but which team offers the best package in return to build around Cooper?